Hello YouTube and welcome back to another episode of The Recap, where we like to shine the spotlight on ANZ Halo. This week we're going to be looking at the ANZ HCS Pro League Season 1, Week 1. So we had our first week of competition for 2022. The format is a bit different to what we have been used to in the past. So to go over the format now, we have 4 teams in Australia being invited every week to compete in the Pro League. Those 4 teams were this week determined by total pro points based on Raleigh placing and previous HCS events from 2021. That meant that they got automatic push through into the Pro League bracket, and they did not have to compete in the open bracket, which was a double elimination tournament held the Sunday prior to the Pro League. So the other 4 teams that made up the Pro League on Tuesday were the 4 top teams that came through that double elimination open bracket. Going into the future now, the way that it will stand will be the top 4 teams from every week of the Pro League will be invited to compete in next week, and then anyone that didn't make top 4 will be thrown back into the open bracket, and they'll have to fight through the open bracket to make it into top 4 and be invited to Pro League, which is every Tuesday for us here on out. So I just wanted to get out now early on in the video that I will be posting these videos every Saturday, so that will be the day before the open bracket takes place, which is every Sunday. If you guys want to catch up on it, then look for it on my channel then. So looking at the teams that were invited to this week's tournament, we had the Chiefs, Mindfreak, Divine Mind and Dire Wolves being seed 1, 2, 3 and 4 respectively. Qualifying from the open bracket, Malicious, Nuke and Pave, 1620 Kings and Dethruptor Fans as seed 5, 6, 7 and 8. So they were our top 8 teams and players for the week that got put into a double elimination bracket. So this double elimination bracket is all best of 3s except for the grand finals. I just want to point out now that Richie Hines from 343 has pointed out on Twitter that going into the future, losers bracket elimination final will be best of 5, so will winners bracket final, that will also be best of 5, and grand finals will now be best of 5s moving forward, but the rest best of 3 double elimination bracket. Doesn't matter if you qualified into this double elimination bracket in the Pro League through open bracket as a loser or a winner, you get given a fair shot at it, which I was happy to see. That seemed like a really good way to do it. And so this week I'm trying to make these videos a little bit shorter, so I'm only going to be covering things that are on broadcast, and even then not necessarily every single series in depth. The first series that we had is between Dire Wolves and Malicious, so that's our 4th and 5th seed for this week respectively. The maps that we were on were Recharge, Oddball, Live Fire, Slayer and if needed Street Stronghold. So going into this game 1, Recharge, Oddball, Dire Wolves obviously being the favoured team. They came second in the last week of the HCS Open Tournament. And in this round 1, Dire Wolves win a tight round 1, 100-75, securing their final 20 seconds of ball time with a nice double kill and an assist out of Zirkle to sneak some seconds on the ball around C and force a push to them to just then play the ball and get an insta pick up around gold to close out the round. So in round 2, the game looks like it could be slipping away from the hands of Malicious as they find themselves down 77-36 with only a minute left on the clock. But the ball gets rotated to A and Dire Wolves continue to put points on the board, amassing 93 points before they get broken. And with only 46 seconds left on the clock, Shrekman produces a nice run of kills and puts some huge pressure down on the map to let his team get more than 40 unanswered points and tie up the game 1-1. So that was a massive play out of him to tie that game up. So then we head into round 3 and Dire Wolves is leading this round 50-42. But when the camo spawns in the middle of the round, Dino misses some key shots on Brattles, who's going for it and manages to scoop the camo and get away absolute. Brad then anchors Turbine perfectly using the camo to its full extent while Malicious hold the ball around gold and pipes, managing to secure 6 unanswered kills on the back of a beautiful combination of teamwork from Brattles and Rated and some solo kills out of the new guy on the block, Zave, completely halting Dire Wolves' momentum and closing out the round in 100-58 fashion, giving Malicious the 2-1 win. So we went into Live Fire, Slayer, and for what was a close game 1 and what you might consider to be an upset given the Dire Wolves team previous performances in previous weeks, I was expecting this Live Fire Slayer to be very close, but Malicious proved me me wrong, and dominated the game too, winning 50-31. Zove closed this game out with a nice double kill to post a +10 stat line, and he was followed closely by Rated, also posting +10 overall. So Dire Wolves were knocked down to the losers bracket, and Malicious move on in the winners bracket where they played against Chiefs. Elsewhere on the bracket in the corners, Chiefs beat Dethruptor Fans 2-0, Mindfreak 2-0'd 16-20 Kings, and Divine Mind 2-0'd Nuke and Pave. So then the upset there being Malicious, so it was good that that was seen on stream. Then going into the semis, the Chiefs 2-0 Malicious, nothing too surprising there, and Divine Mind 2-0 Mindfreak, also nothing too surprising, so I opted out of reviewing those films. That meant that we had a winners finals between Chiefs and Divine Mind, and obviously Chiefs playing with flex reigns instead of Madzi, Divine Mind are playing with a revised roster, trialing Beastin and Dante's filling while BBR are on holidays. So the maps that we had are Recharge, Stronghold, Street Slayer, and Aquarius Flag, and game one was again Recharge, but this time a Stronghold. So Chiefs start the game off with an early triple cap to get an unanswered 53 points and get control of the shock rifle and sword, which Prady's put to good work, but unfortunately his entire team is falling around him, and Divine Mind used this to get a mix of a double and a triple cap at certain points to go up early on 81-53, but heading into the mid-game, Chiefs have the advantage, and the broadcast kind of wigs out here, the observer mode wigs out a bit, and it shows that Pips is disconnected from the game, which wasn't the case, and I've gone through and I've confirmed it through Barcode's stream. All four of them were definitely still in the game, and it was an even match all the way until the end. The game is pretty much even at the 200 point apiece mark, but Slays has a huge kill on Flex in the top gold area, which allows him to fly out and get a second kill on Prady's and give Divine Mind control, putting Chiefs 3 dead again with only 10 points left on the board for Divine Mind to take the win. And Divine Mind take a very nail-biting first map, 250-226 over Chiefs. So there's no real standout statistics here with it being such a close game. Slays are incredibly even, and I think overall Chiefs only managed to get outslayed by 1. So Divine Mind obviously getting 1 extra kill to them. And we go into a Street Slayer for game 2. And to wrap up a long story in a short sentence, you could describe this game as everything you have ever wanted in a Halo game. The underdogs in Divine Mind amass a 10 kill lead at the 40-30 mark, but Chiefs rally back all the way to a 49-49 standoff in the last moments of the game, and with rockets coming up, Chiefs make a huge blunder, and they only allocate Pips to look at those rockets. Slays and Berserk make a 2-man push to get these rockets, obviously forcing Pips off of them. They secure the rockets, and they double back into front C and make a P-side push, fire off a rocket essentially across the map, which connects and kills a weak Prady's, and unfortunately makes Chiefs lose their first ever series in a 2-0 fashion against Divine Mind, putting them down into the losers bracket. Elsewhere in the losers bracket, to get to this point, we had Nuke and Pave take a 2-1 win over 16-20 Kings and knock them out. Dethruptor Fans take a 2-1 win over Dire Wolves and knock them out. Dire Wolves with their worst placing since week 1 in a 7/8th place. As I understand, Dino had COVID and a broken controller, which obviously didn't help, but still a solid performance out of Dethruptor Fans to get there and get the job done. So I'm sure Dire Wolves is going to come back next week wanting a little bit more. 16-20 Kings is obviously going to have a revised roster, I think, now. Benji and Ryo are free agents and looking for a new team. Moving on to the quarterfinals of the elimination bracket, Dethruptor Fans take a 2-1 win over Mindfreak, and Malicious take a 2-0 win over Nuke and Pave. So both good wins out of Dethruptor Fans and Malicious to get them into the elimination semi-finals, where it's again a best of 3 that they have to take each other on, and this matchup for me is a bit of an unknown. Both teams actually beat Dire Wolves to get to this point in the bracket, so we can imagine they're both of a decent quality to get here, and yeah, this was just an interesting game. This is one that I was definitely looking forward to, and the maps that we had here are Live Fire, Oddball, Aquarius Slayer, and Recharge Strongholds. In this round 1 of Live Fire, Oddball, it looked like Malicious had answered our question, as they were by far the dominant team, coming out hot and winning the first round 100-42. We get mostly shown through the Brattles POV, who finished the round 15 kills and 6 deaths, so a big first round out of Brattles. Round 2 starts off very similarly to round 1, with Malicious getting a 69-39 lead with a minute and a half remaining. Malicious were probably feeling pretty comfortable, especially after getting a fresh 3 dead around the ball off the back of some good mangler shots from Rated and cleans from Shrekman. And with Brattles popping off with the snipe, it looks like Malicious are about to get a strong B set up to potentially close out the game, but they're forced to play it at the 74 to 37 point mark with 50 seconds left on the clock. The play is scrappy from here, dwindling down the clock, but Dethruptor Fans managed to sneak the ball out of bottom mid with only 4 seconds left. They snuff out Rated and Zave, who are the two most pushed up on the map on the side of Malicious, leaving Brattles and Jimbob left wondering what went wrong as Dethruptor Fans take the lead, again still with only 4 seconds left on the clock, and play the ball off the map, securing themselves a round win on the back of the clock, 76 to 75, with a massive comeback in that round and a solid performance out of them. They moved on to round 3, which was again tied at 57 to 57, showing the real competitiveness of both of these teams. But Apollo and Jordan on the side of Dethruptor Fans have some high IQ ball rotations, which managed to close out the round 100 to 57 and win map 1 in a 2-1 fashion to Dethruptor Fans. Then moving into game 2, which was an Aquarius Slayer, Dethruptor Fans really ran this map, and they always seem to have the numbers in the right place at the right time, and surprisingly completely dominated Malicious to win the map 50 to 39. Unfortunately, Brattles really had a poor game and he couldn't get much going, finishing the game 3 kills for 15 deaths, which is an unfortunate performance out of him. Rice and Zaved topped the board with 16 kills apiece, and Apollo finished positive 6. So Malicious bow out of the tournament in a respectable 4th place, gaining them an invitation to the Pro League for next week, and Dethruptor Fans move on for a rematch against Chiefs in the elimination finals. So we have this matchup between Dethruptor Fans and Chiefs, where Dethruptor Fans obviously previously lost to Chiefs 2-0 in the winners' quarters, and the maps that we had here are Bizarre Flag, Live Fire Slayer, and Streets Oddball. This Bizarre Flag game, Chiefs bread and butter, as we already know, so I wasn't expecting much of a fight out of the Dethruptor Fans. However, Cluzy apparently wanted to make an early statement with an overkill on Chiefs' balcony within the first 2 minutes to let his team get a flag out of Chiefs' base. However, some of the experience of Dethruptor Fans shone through here as they ran the flag pedal to the metal all the way to their courtyard without any visual on where the spawners of Chiefs were, got caught off guard by the early rocket flank and overwhelmed, allowing Chiefs to get a return on what should have been, by all accounts, an early flag cap for Dethruptor Fans and probably a big confidence boost as well. This is a pattern that unfortunately seemed to emerge for both teams in the first half of the game, as Dethruptor Fans made a very similar defensive play to stop a flags chief, which they had run essentially all the way to their flag podium before it getting returned out of some big plays out of the boys on Dethruptor Fans. Inevitably though, once the dust had settled and these two teams had some time to really gauge each other's skills and abilities, Chiefs' experience shone through here and they managed to eventually close the map out 3-0. My 2 spotlight players in this game were Cluzy on the side of Dethruptor Fans, as we saw him be critical to a number of flag pulls and defensive returns, and Barcode obviously on the side of Chiefs, who went 28 and 18, really helping the slaying efforts of them and securing the win. I just want to point out here as well, although this was a 3-0 scoreline in the end, I think that you are deceived if you think that this game wasn't close. I honestly think that with a few more scrims under the belt of Dethruptor Fans, this easily could have been their first victory over the Chiefs, and it would have made for a very interesting series. Going into game 2, we had Live Fire Slayer, and it seems like Chiefs have learnt their lesson from their experiences in Raleigh, and they develop a huge 20-7 lead in the game, utilizing every weapon on the map. Flex Reigns gets his first kill with an AR and swaps it out for a sniper. Barcode is abusing the Mangler to get double kills on top mid. Prades is popping his own double kills with the Heatwave, and Pips is just going along for the ride. So Prades actually starts this game out 9-1, which is a big part for their early 20-7 lead, and the closest that Dethruptor Fans managed to get to bringing it back is within 8 kills, as Chiefs proved too strong and close out the game 50-34. So Dethruptor Fans finished their first Pro League tournament in a 3rd place overall and get themselves an invite to next week's Pro League. I actually reached out to Rice as the guy to interview this week, and I wanted to get a bit of his insight on the situation, so we'll go to that now. We're here with Rice at the moment. First and foremost, congratulations on obviously your top 3 placing. This is, if I'm not mistaken, your second top 4 in the last 4 tournaments. Obviously one of them got taken away from you technically, but still a second top 4 performance in my eyes. So congratulations to you guys. You guys performed super well. I said earlier in the video that you guys obviously lost only to Chiefs. So you went through the open bracket, you didn't lose any series, and then you come up against Chiefs in the quarterfinals of winners. You go down 2-0 to them, and then obviously go down 2-0 in the losers finals. So for me, you guys still have a bit of an asterisk beside your name, as are you the second best team in the region? I don't know. No one's really had that question answered yet, given that you've only lost to first place. So what do you think is the difference between you and Chiefs, particularly at this stage of the game?
I reckon, like, well, first of all, I have Barcode.
Yes.
And, you know, like, you can't sleep on Barcode. He's just so much, like, even just mechanically, he's just better than everyone. There's no one else that can compete with him. So there's that. And also, like, they're super efficient, and, like, they've obviously been, like, a core for a lot longer, and they've been playing together for a lot longer than we have. And they just played Rayleigh and stuff, so they would have got a lot of practice over there against, like, really good teams. So I think just, like, their efficiency and, like, their understanding the game is just better than ours at the moment. And they work, like, as a team and as a unit, like, just better than we, like, did as well. I don't think we were getting, like, super out-fragged for the most part, especially on that Bazaar match. I mean, obviously Barker was just ahead, so I guess in that aspect we were, but yeah, like, they're definitely ahead of us, but it's more just, like, the teamwork and stuff.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier before, you guys have obviously, you've had to pick up a fourth, in that being Clusius, so I guess that feeds into your inexperience as a team together, and you obviously haven't been able to scrim all that much, so you've still come out and obviously put on a good show, those factors considered. So what is a bit of the decision making in picking up Clusius? Did you have a lot of other options, or is he kind of your only option? How did we end up with him? And how's he fitting into the team?
Yeah, so we were being, like, pretty picky about who the fourth was, because, like, Cat was, like, basically our IGL, and he was, like, initiating all the, like, plays and stuff. So we were like, we really need someone who's going to be able to fill that role, otherwise our team's just not going to work. And so we sort of went the other direction with Cluzy. He's not like a super, like, team player and, like, comming a lot like Cat was, but his mechanical skill is just, like, off the chart. Like, he's nuts. And so it just ended up, like, working out, and he's, like, fit really well into the team.
So you touched on Cat there. So obviously there's a bit of a situation with Cat almost about a month ago now, where he got banned. I don't want a full breakdown of the situation, but can you kind of summarize what happened, and I guess a bit into the ongoing situation?
Okay, so yeah, so he got banned after we placed top 4 tournament. Obviously all of us had our points deducted from it, so he got 0 points for that tournament. We're still talking to HCS and, like, trying to work with them and, like, get him unbanned, but they're sort of, like, stonewalling us right now. We actually don't know why he was banned. They didn't tell us exactly why he was banned. They just, like, said cheating. There was no specifics. And we also know for a fact that the only reason he got banned were, and I'm sure everyone's seen them, those, like, 3 in-game theater clips.
Yeah.
They were the only things that got him banned. There was nothing else. Like, they didn't look into the server telemetry stuff that they talked about. It was none of that.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
just, I guess, to set the record straight for a couple of people, because there's a lot of confusion. I think I'm one of them. What input does Cat actually play on?
Controller.
He's a controller player, and the time frame of his ban currently, is it a year?
Yeah, it's 1 year.
Okay, yeah. So for me, I'll be honest, I was a little sus given controller and some of the clips that I saw as well. But for me, going into this, I always saw if they come out and perform similarly, this is like a big question mark beside it, because it's like, okay, if they're so good just because they're cheating, they shouldn't be able to come out and perform this to the same standard, if not a better standard than they did last time. So I think this puts a bit of pressure on the HCS and the admin team to have a look at that a bit more extensively. I don't know what server telemetry is or any of that stuff, but that definitely, I think, goes into your credit and your favor as I guess the core three, you, Jordan, and Apollo. So that's good news, I guess. And I hear that you guys are a bit blacklisted from scrims at the moment as a result of that cat situation. So hopefully a couple of the other pro teams or whatever are going to relax that from here on out, especially after seeing that you guys are obviously a good team to verse. So just a little bit about you, because you're a bit of an enigma in the scene at the moment. You're obviously new, so you are a Valorant pro, is that my understanding? What is a Valorant pro?
Well, I guess like the definition of what most people go off the definition of a pro player is someone who's like getting paid to play the game.
Okay.
So I bet like I was top 4 on when I played on Dire Wolves, and then after that I jumped between teams, just maintaining top 8 basically. So I did that for about a year and a half, and then before that I played Paladins professionally. I did that for like 2-3 years. Cheers
for I guess the interview, Rice, and hopefully everything sorts itself out for you guys and Dethruptor Fans in the future. And you're still looking for an org as well, aren't you? So anyone yeah. So someone pick these boys up, and all the best going forward.
Thanks, man.
Alright, so one last series left after Chiefs beat Dethruptor Fans in that elimination final. And we had the grand finals where Chiefs obviously had to make the bracket reset in 2 best-of-5s if they wanted to take this to get the win. And I guess the question that we all have and you had is, did they get it done? And the short answer, yes. And not only did they get it done, they got it done in a 6-0 fashion. So I don't want to sit here and go over every map and mode and do a full 6-map breakdown of Chiefs being dominant. I'm just going to show what there was. So in the first series, they took Aquarius Flag 5-0, they took Bazaar Slayer 50-45, and they took Recharge Oddball 2-1. And then in the bracket reset, they took a close Bazaar Flag 2-1, Recharge Slayer was 50-30, and Live Fire Oddball 2-0. So I think that they really took the wind out of the sails of Divine Mind in this second series to secure themselves their back-to-back championship. They're 4-time champions. Flex Reigns' second championship with them. I think Praties and Barcode have been consistent among all 4, and Pips' second as well. So congratulations to those boys on taking the win. And I put together this series statistics for them. Again, no surprises here. Barcode being having the most kills in the lobby, the most assists in the lobby, 1 off, the least deaths. The least deaths went to Pips, a massive plus 52 overall kills to deaths, and his ratio being 1.56. Obviously a monster slayer, someone that we're going to keep bringing up over the next few weeks, I'm sure. And unfortunately on the side of Divine Mind, have to highlight Berserk, again similar to the recap, with a lot of deaths, 134, so a lot more than anyone else on his team, going neg 46 overall and posting a 0.66 KD. So looking purely at stats, I'd say Berserk probably needs to slow down his playstyle a bit and really try to work around his teammates a bit more, because unfortunately here he didn't really have the assists to back up that many deaths either, and showing the least kills. But promisingly Beaston on the side of Divine Mind with the most kills, very similar deaths, very similar assists to the rest, and looking like a very good pickup on the side of Divine Mind if these boys are interested in sticking with him. So that's all I have to say for this week. This week was fantastic to watch, I thought, from a viewer perspective. A lot of upsets in Malicious and Dire Wolves, Dethruptor Fans and Dire Wolves, some really close games between Dethruptor Fans and Malicious. I'm looking forward to see what Mindfreak can do moving forward with their new roster. Jocko is obviously a very talented player. He placed top 3 in the first week with a fill team as well. And we'll just have to see if Chiefs can continue their dominant performance. But I personally, at this point of the game, want to see some upsets. I want to see some close games between Divine Mind and Chiefs. I don't want Chiefs to just be dominating this scene for the next 1 year. So let's get a roster together that can really contest these boys and make these grand final moments interesting. And yeah, thanks for watching this time around. If you have any comments or any ways you think I can improve these videos, then drop them down below. But until next time, keep putting your best foot forward. Peace out.
Now every word that's out of my mouth. Wake up, it's me. You're gonna follow your dreams, or are you just gonna be another cog in the scene? You feel the hope in this beat, yeah, the hope that you need to proceed and be exactly what you wanted to be.